It all started with an email. One single, innocuous email that I never expected would spiral everything out of control. But now, as I sit here writing this, I can't help but wonder if that moment was a warning sign I missed. A chance to walk away before everything fell apart. The email arrived on a Thursday evening. My wife, Veronica, was at her office. She worked late a lot recently, and I was home alone, going over some old photos of our daughter, Mia, who was getting married in just a few days. It was supposed to be a joyous time, a celebration of everything we had built together. But instead, it felt like something was hanging over us, like an unspoken tension in the air that I couldn't shake. The email came from a name I didn't recognize, Samantha Foster. It was short and to the point, nothing that would have raised any alarm bells initially. Just a simple message. I think it's time you knew the truth. It was the subject line that grabbed my attention. But it wasn't just the words that sent a chill down my spine. It was the feeling in my gut that told me this was more than just spam or a mix-up. I hesitated. I almost deleted it, thinking it was some scam, but something made me click. Hello, Richard. You don't know me, but I've been watching you for a long time. I don't think you'll believe me at first, but the truth is your daughter is not really your daughter. Her real father is someone you know very well, and it's time you found out. Meet me tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the cafe on Pine Street, and I'll explain everything. Come alone. I blinked at the screen. I stared at the words, unable to comprehend what I had just read. My daughter, not really my daughter? The email seemed insane, a cruel prank, a misunderstanding. But as I sat there, the world around me felt like it was slowing down. I could feel the blood draining from my face, my hands trembling. I've spent years raising Mia. I've been a part of her life since the day she was born. I was her father. And yet, here was a stranger claiming that Mia wasn't mine, that she belonged to someone else. I could have dismissed it as nonsense. But something gnawed at me, something I couldn't explain. What if this wasn't a joke? What if it was true? I closed the email, my head spinning, and told myself I was being ridiculous. But my mind wouldn't let it go. I had to know what was going on. The next day, I went to the cafe. Pine Street wasn't far from our house, just a short walk away, so I figured it wouldn't hurt to check it out. I arrived early, scanning the tables for anyone who might be watching me, anyone who might know who I was. I sat down in a corner booth, ordered a coffee, and waited. About 20 minutes later, a woman walked in. She was tall, with dark hair, and there was something almost familiar about her. She glanced around the cafe before her eyes settled on me. She didn't smile, but her gaze was intense, like she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. She sat down across from me without saying a word. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The air was thick with tension, and I couldn't bring myself to ask her anything. I was still trying to wrap my mind around the idea that this stranger was about to change my life forever. Finally, she broke the silence. Your daughter, Mia, she began, her voice low, isn't yours. Not biologically, at least. She's someone else's daughter. I felt the breath catch in my throat. My heart started to race. Who the hell are you? I asked, my voice shaking. I'm someone who knows the truth. The truth you've been kept from. The truth your wife has been hiding from you for years. My head was spinning. I couldn't process what she was saying. Veronica? What was she talking about? Veronica had always been upfront with me. She was my wife, the woman I loved. Do you think I'm crazy? I snapped. This is insane. How do you even know this? The woman didn't flinch. She just stared at me with cold eyes. Because I've been keeping an eye on your family for a long time. And because the truth is going to come out whether you want it to or not. I leaned back in my seat, trying to calm myself down. I don't know who you are or what you think you know, but you're wrong. Mia is my daughter. She's mine, and that's all there is to it. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then, she slid a small envelope across the table toward me. Take a look. Maybe you'll believe me then. I hesitated. I didn't want to open it. I didn't want to entertain the idea that everything I thought I knew about my life was wrong. But something inside me urged me to do it. Slowly, I picked up the envelope and tore it open. Inside was a photograph. A picture of a woman I didn't recognize holding a baby. The baby was swaddled in a blanket, but what shocked me wasn't the baby, it was the woman. She looked exactly like Veronica. There was no denying it. This is your wife, isn't it? The woman asked, her voice cold. And this is the truth. Mia wasn't born to you. She was born to someone else. Someone you both know. I couldn't breathe. I stared at the photograph, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. This couldn't be happening. But then came the twist that I never saw coming. The real father, she said softly, is someone you thought you could trust. The photograph sat in front of me like a weight, its image burning into my mind. I stared at the woman in the picture, her face a strange mix of familiarity and foreignness, as though I should know her, but couldn't place her. She was holding a baby wrapped in the same soft blanket I had seen in the family photos on the mantel. My stomach churned as I turned the photo over, hoping to find some sort of explanation, but there was none. Just the name Samantha scrawled on the back in black ink. I looked up at the woman sitting across from me, her expression unchanged, her eyes cold and hard, as if she was waiting for me to finally process the devastation she had just dropped on me. How is this possible? I managed to whisper, my voice betraying me, cracking under the weight of the revelation. Who is she? And what does she have to do with my daughter? The woman's lips barely curled into a smile, almost as if she was enjoying the confusion she had caused. That woman is Veronica, your wife. And that baby? She paused for a moment, watching me closely as if testing how far she could push me. That baby is Mia. But not the Mia you think you know. The Mia you've raised is the biological daughter of someone else. I leaned back in my chair, unable to speak. The cafe seemed to close in around me, the sounds of chatter and clinking cups fading into the background as my mind raced. This couldn't be real. Veronica had been my partner for nearly 20 years. We had built a life together, and I had watched our daughter grow from a baby into the woman she was now. The idea that Mia wasn't mine felt absurd. But the photograph in front of me, the strange woman sitting across from me, and her cold, calculating words made me question everything. Who are you? I finally managed to ask, my voice steadying, though my heart was pounding in my chest. And why are you telling me this now? Why would you come to me with this? With this lie? The woman didn't answer immediately. She reached for her coffee and took a slow sip, her eyes never leaving mine. I felt a knot of frustration tighten in my stomach as I waited for her to speak. I was getting impatient. If this was a joke, it wasn't funny. If it was a trap, I was falling right into it. I'm someone who's been watching your family for a long time, Richard, she said at last, her voice low and measured. I've seen what you've done for Mia, how you've cared for her, how you've loved her as your own. But what you don't realize is that this whole time, you've been kept in the dark. The truth is, Mia's real father is someone you've known for years, someone close to you. And I'm here to make sure that truth comes to light. I shook my head, disbelief washing over me like a wave. No, this is insane. You're saying Mia's biological father is someone I know? Who? I need answers. Now. She leaned forward, her eyes narrowing, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of something like pity in her gaze. You'll find out soon enough, Richard. But for now, just know that everything you've been told about Mia is a lie. Her mother, Veronica, has been hiding the truth from you. For years. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to hold myself together. I wanted to get up, walk out, and leave the cafe, but my legs felt like lead. My mind was spinning with a million questions, none of which had answers. How could Veronica keep something like this from me? How could she deceive me for so long? And if Mia wasn't my daughter, then who was she? I don't know what kind of game you're playing, I said, my voice a little louder now. But this ends now. I'm going home, and if you think for a second I'm going to believe this. But the woman wasn't done. She reached into her bag and pulled out another envelope, this one much thicker than the last. Without a word, she slid it across the table to me. I stared at it, my pulse racing. I wanted to refuse, to walk away and pretend this conversation had never happened. But deep down, I knew I couldn't. I had to know the truth. Whatever that truth was, I had to face it. Slowly, I opened the envelope. Inside, I found a stack of documents, papers that looked official, even though they seemed out of place in this small cafe. The first document I pulled out was a birth certificate. I blinked at it in confusion. It wasn't Mia's. It was someone else's, but the name on it. It was a name I recognized. Derek Lawrence. I muttered under my breath. Who the hell is Derek Lawrence? The woman didn't answer. She simply watched me, waiting for the impact to sink in. I flipped through the papers, my hands trembling as I saw more names, Veronica's, Derek's, and finally, a medical record. It all pointed to one horrifying truth. Derek Lawrence was the biological father of Mia. And for reasons I still couldn't comprehend, Veronica had kept it from me. You need to understand something, Richard. the woman said, her voice quieter now, almost sympathetic. Mia is Derek's daughter. Veronica and Derek, they had an affair years ago. Mia was the result. And all this time, you've been led to believe she was yours. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The woman's words reverberated in my head, over and over, each time feeling more surreal. How could this be happening? How could Veronica do this to me? To us? To Mia? I had given everything for this family. Everything. What do you want from me? I asked, my voice hoarse. She looked at me for a long moment before answering. I want you to know the truth. And I want you to do something with it. The wedding tomorrow. It's your choice whether you go or not. But I suggest you think long and hard about what you're walking into. I stared at her, my mind a blur. The wedding. Tomorrow. Mia, my daughter, the woman I thought I knew. But nothing was as it seemed anymore. The woman stood up and slid out of the booth, leaving me there with the documents in my hands, my world collapsing around me. She left without another word, and I was left alone in the cafe, trying to process everything I had just learned. Mia wasn't mine. Veronica had been hiding it from me all along. And now, there was a wedding to attend, a family to face, and the truth that had been buried for years was finally rising to the surface. I left the cafe feeling numb, the weight of the documents in my hands like an anchor pulling me under. The woman's words echoed in my mind, relentless and unforgiving. Mia is Derek's daughter. I walked for what felt like hours, my feet moving without any real direction, the sun sinking lower in the sky as I tried to process the impossible truth. How could Veronica hide something like this from me? How could she lie to my face, for years, as if I was nothing more than a fool? I had always trusted her. I had given everything I had to this family. We had a life built on love, on shared history. Yet now, everything felt like it was built on lies. Mia, my daughter, not my daughter. Veronica, the woman I thought I knew inside and out, she had betrayed me. I was seething with anger, confusion, and a profound sense of loss. I didn't know where to go, so I ended up at the park, just a few blocks from our house. I sat on a bench, the cool evening breeze doing little to calm the storm inside me. I pulled out my phone and stared at it for a while, the silence of the moment almost suffocating. I thought about calling Veronica, telling her I knew the truth. I wanted to confront her, to scream, to demand answers. But a small voice inside me told me to wait, to think things through before I made a move. What good would it do to yell at her, to throw accusations without understanding why? I could feel my heart racing again as I opened the folder the woman had given me. The papers still folded inside. The birth certificate, the medical records, the name Derek Lawrence. The fact that I was holding this evidence in my hands didn't make it any easier to accept. I couldn't fathom how this could be true. It just didn't make sense. What if this was all some elaborate scheme? What if someone was out to destroy my life? I shook the thought away, but the doubt lingered. Could I really trust the woman who had given me those papers? Had I just been manipulated into believing something that wasn't real? But then, the doubt faded as I thought about Veronica. The way she had acted recently, distant, distracted, always on her phone. The way Mia seemed to pull away from me in the past few weeks. Maybe it wasn't just coincidence. Maybe all the signs were there, and I had been too blind to see them. I took a deep breath, the chill of the evening finally starting to settle into my bones. I needed to know the truth, even if it destroyed me. I stood up, folding the documents carefully and slipping them into my jacket pocket. I couldn't stay here, stuck in this whirlwind of confusion. I needed to go home. I needed to confront Veronica. When I walked through the door, the house felt different. Empty, almost. Veronica's car was parked in the driveway, but she wasn't in the living room. The silence was suffocating. I walked into the kitchen, hoping to find her there, maybe to catch her off guard before she had a chance to prepare some explanation. But the kitchen was as quiet as the rest of the house. Veronica, I called out, my voice strained. No answer. I checked the bedroom, but she wasn't there either. Panic started to set in, my mind racing. Was she hiding? Had she already left, knowing I would confront her? But then, I heard the faint sound of a door creaking. My heart skipped a beat. I turned around quickly, half expecting to see her emerge from the hallway. But it wasn't Veronica who came into view. It was Mia. She stood there, looking at me with wide eyes, like she had been waiting for me. Mia, I said, my voice coming out too harsh. Where is your mother? She hesitated before responding. She's not here. She left a little while ago. She said she needed to clear her head. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Veronica had left. She was avoiding me. I stared at Mia, my daughter, the girl I had raised for 18 years. I wanted to believe she was mine. I needed to believe it. But as I looked at her, I couldn't help but wonder, what if she wasn't? I felt like I was going crazy. The evidence, the woman, the strange, haunting truth I didn't want to face, it was all crashing down on me. Mia, I said quietly, not trusting myself to speak louder. I need to ask you something. I need to know if you know anything about this. About what's been going on. She looked at me, her expression unreadable. I could tell she was afraid. Maybe she already knew what I was asking. Maybe she had already been caught in the web of lies that Veronica had spun. What's going on, Dad? She asked, her voice tentative. What do you mean? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything crashing down. Mia, I need to know the truth. Your mother, she's been hiding something from me. I need to know if you know anything about it. Please. She stepped closer, her brow furrowed. Dad, I don't understand. What are you talking about? I'm talking about you, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I'm talking about your father. I found out. Mia, you're not my biological daughter. The words hung in the air like a lead balloon, suffocating everything around us. Her face turned pale, and for a moment, she didn't move. Then, her eyes filled with something. Anger, sadness, confusion. What are you saying? She whispered, her voice breaking. I don't know what to say anymore, I admitted, the tears welling up in my own eyes. I found out that your biological father is someone I know, someone close to me. His name is Derek Lawrence. Mia took a step back, her hand covering her mouth as if she was trying to hold back the shock. Her eyes searched mine, looking for any sign that I was lying. But I wasn't. Mia, I said softly, I don't know what happened or why Veronica kept this from me, but I need to know the truth. Do you know about Derek? Do you know him? She shook her head slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know. I don't remember anything about him. But Mom always said we couldn't talk about it. She said it was too complicated. Everything inside me shattered at that moment. Veronica had kept this secret not just from me, but from Mia too. She had been hiding the truth for years. And now, here I was, with a daughter who wasn't truly mine, a wife who had betrayed me, and a family that was coming apart at the seams. But one thing was clear, this wasn't over. The truth had come to light, and I had no idea how deep the rabbit hole went. I stared at Mia, her pale face reflecting the same confusion and pain I felt deep inside. The words had come out of my mouth, but I hadn't expected the impact to be so visceral. She looked like she was trying to process what I had just said, as though her mind was racing to catch up with the gravity of the revelation. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence in the room was suffocating. I could feel the distance between us, even though we were standing just a few feet apart. Mia was no longer the girl I had raised. Not in the way I thought I had. There was a stranger standing in front of me now, someone I didn't know. And it wasn't just because of the bombshell I had just dropped. It was the uncertainty, the disbelief that had painted her face the moment I mentioned Derek's name. Dad, this doesn't make sense, she finally said, her voice trembling as she searched my eyes for any sign that this was some kind of sick joke. But I wasn't joking. I wasn't capable of that. I wanted to say something, anything, to reassure her. But I had no words. I didn't know how to explain the magnitude of what had just unfolded. Veronica's secret, Derek's betrayal, Mia's true parentage, it was all too much to comprehend in a single breath. My hands shook as I looked at her. How could I have missed this? How could Veronica have kept this from me for so long? I wanted to go to her, to comfort her, to apologize for dropping such a brutal truth on her in the middle of this emotional chaos. But something inside me told me that comfort wasn't what she needed. She needed answers. We both did. Mia, I began, taking a step closer but stopping short, not wanting to crowd her. I don't know why your mother never told you. I don't know why she hid this from both of us, but I'm not lying. Derek Lawrence is your biological father. Her eyes widened, as though she had heard something impossible. But why would Mom lie about that? Why wouldn't she just tell me? I could see the hurt in her eyes, the sense of betrayal cutting deeper than any wound could. I don't know, sweetheart. I really don't. But something's not right. We both deserve to know the truth. The air in the room felt thick, Every word I spoke seemed to hang in the air between us like a dark cloud. I felt like I was suffocating in the silence, but Mia wasn't ready to let go of the shock, and honestly, neither was I. I stood there, desperately trying to make sense of it all, when my phone buzzed in my pocket, breaking the tension. I didn't want to check it, didn't want to hear anything more that could add to this chaos. But I couldn't ignore it. I pulled it out, half expecting it to be a message from Veronica, maybe an apology or an explanation. But it wasn't. It was an email from someone named Samantha Foster. My heart stopped. Not her again. With shaking hands, I opened it. "You've come this far, Richard. You have questions. Good. I'm ready to answer them. But I need you to meet me tonight. Don't ignore this. The answers you seek won't come from anyone else. Tonight, 10 p.m. The address is in the attachment. Come alone." I stared at the screen, my mind reeling. I couldn't believe it. This woman, this stranger, was giving me an opportunity to find answers, but at a price. She wanted me alone. She had orchestrated all of this, dragging me deeper into whatever tangled web she was weaving. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to face whatever more secrets she was going to unravel. But a small part of me knew I had no choice. The questions gnawing at me were too powerful, too urgent. I glanced up at Mia, who was still processing what I had just told her. Her face was a mix of anger and sadness, and I hated that I was the one who had forced her into this painful moment. "Mia, I'm going to meet someone," I said, my voice firm but strained. "This? Samantha Foster. She knows something. She's been behind this whole thing. She has answers, and I need to know the truth." Mia's eyes flashed with disbelief. "You're really going to go meet her? After everything you just told me? After everything you just learned?" I didn't have an answer for her. There was nothing I could say that would make sense of it. I wasn't going to pretend that I had it all figured out, that I could offer some neat, tidy explanation. But I couldn't stay here in this house, with all these unanswered questions and no one to turn to for answers. I had to know who was behind this, who was pulling the strings, and why they had chosen this moment to destroy everything. "Mia," I said, swallowing hard. "I have to do this. I can't explain it right now, but I promise I'll come back. I need you to be strong, okay?" She didn't answer, but I saw the way her eyes flickered between anger and confusion. She didn't trust me anymore, and I couldn't blame her. How could she? Her entire world was being turned upside down, and I was the one who had opened the floodgates. I turned away before she could say anything else, knowing that I wasn't leaving her behind, but I was walking into something I couldn't control. This night was going to change everything, and part of me dreaded the answers I might find. But another part of me, the part that had been pushed to the brink of understanding, knew that I had no choice but to confront the truth. I pulled my coat on and stepped out into the cold night, the chill biting at my skin as I walked toward the address in the email. The streets were quiet, the city a strange contrast to the storm inside my head. As I approached the address, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting for me, something far worse than I had ever imagined. I knocked on the door, my heart hammering in my chest. The door opened slowly, and the woman from the cafe, the one who had given me the photograph, stood there, her eyes as cold as ever. "Come in, Richard," she said, her voice flat. "It's time you learned the truth." I stepped inside, knowing that once I crossed the threshold, there would be no turning back. The truth was waiting for me, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. The door closed softly behind me as I stepped into the dimly lit room. The air inside was thick, heavy with the scent of incense, and something else, something unfamiliar that made my skin crawl. The woman, Samantha, stood in front of me, her face unreadable as she studied me. Her presence felt almost predatory, like a spider waiting for its prey to get too close. "Sit," she said, her voice low and commanding. I didn't move at first. My mind was still racing, questions swirling like a violent storm in my head. I was here, in this strange, cold room, to find answers, but what I was really walking into, I had no idea. "What do you want from me?" I finally managed to ask, my voice tight with both fear and frustration. She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she motioned toward a chair across from a small table where a single lamp flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Slowly, I sank into the chair, my body stiff with tension. The last few hours had been a blur of shock, betrayal, and confusion. Every piece of this puzzle felt like it belonged to someone else's life, not mine. And yet, here I was, sitting across from the woman who had dragged me into this nightmare. "Do you know who Derek Lawrence is?" she asked, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. I stared at her, the name echoing in my head. Derek Lawrence. It was like a scar on my memory that I couldn't quite place. I had heard the name before, I was sure of it, but I couldn't remember where or when. All I knew was that he was tied to everything that was falling apart around me. I don't understand. I know the name, but I don't understand why it matters, I replied, my voice shaky. She smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. Derek Lawrence is the key to all of this. He's the one who can explain everything you've been too blind to see. He's been in your life for years, Richard. He's been closer to you than you realize. I felt a chill run down my spine. What are you talking about? Who is he to me? The woman's eyes narrowed slightly, and she leaned in, as if she were about to deliver the final blow. He's your best friend. The words hit me like a slap in the face. Derek? My best friend? It didn't make sense. Derek had always been there for me, the guy I could count on, the one I shared everything with. But how could he be involved in this? How could he be Mia's father? I shook my head, trying to make sense of it. You're lying. You have to be lying. Samantha leaned back in her chair, watching me with a detached interest. I wish I were. But the truth is, Derek and Veronica, your wife, had an affair years ago. And that affair resulted in Mia. I couldn't breathe. The room felt like it was closing in around me. Veronica, my wife, the woman I had loved and trusted for 2 decades, had been involved with Derek? My mind refused to accept it. I had been blind, but now the weight of her betrayal hit me with a force I hadn't been prepared for. How long has this been going on? I whispered, my voice barely audible. For years, Samantha replied, her tone cold and uncaring. You didn't know, but I've been watching. I've been waiting for the right time to make sure you understood what was really happening. Derek's been a part of your life for longer than you realize. I felt the anger welling up inside me. How could Derek, my best friend, do this to me? To Mia? To my family? What do you want from me? I asked again, my voice rising now, desperate to understand. Why are you telling me this? Why now? Samantha's eyes glinted with something dark and calculating. I want you to stop living a lie. I want you to face the truth about everything. Veronica has been lying to you for years. Mia is Derek's daughter, not yours. And it's time for you to stop pretending otherwise. I felt the ground beneath me shift. The life I had built with Veronica, the home, the memories, everything, was suddenly upended. It was like all the moments we had shared were reduced to nothing. Mia wasn't my daughter. Veronica hadn't been faithful. And Derek, my best friend, had been part of this betrayal all along. I can't just accept this, I said, my voice hoarse. I can't just let go of everything I thought I knew. Samantha's face remained impassive as she watched me. You don't have to accept it right now, Richard, but you will. The truth always comes out, no matter how hard you try to deny it. I stood up suddenly, the anger inside me burning like a wildfire. What do you want from me? What do you expect me to do? Samantha stood too, her movements deliberate and slow, like she was savoring the moment. What I expect from you is simple. You have a choice. You can keep living in the fantasy that Mia is yours. You can keep pretending everything is fine, ignore what's been happening behind your back, and stay with Veronica. Or, she paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. Or you can face the truth. You can expose everything, confront Derek, confront Veronica, and take back what's rightfully yours. The decision hung in the air between us. Expose the truth. Destroy the life I had known. But what was the alternative? Living in a world of lies, a world where I wasn't even sure who I was anymore. I turned toward the door, unable to make sense of what she had just said. I didn't know if I was ready to face the consequences of this revelation, but I knew one thing. I couldn't leave without knowing the full extent of what had been done to me. Where do I find Derek? I asked, my voice steady, even though my hands were shaking. Samantha smiled, a dark, knowing smile that made my skin crawl. I've already arranged the meeting. You'll find him at his apartment. I suggest you go now. I walked out of the room, my mind a whirl of conflicting emotions. The air outside felt colder than it had ever been. The city seemed to mock me, as though the entire world knew my secret, and I was the only one left in the dark. Derek's apartment was just a few blocks away. It didn't take long to get there, but every step I took felt like I was marching toward my own destruction. I had no idea what I was going to say when I saw him. What could I say? How could I confront the man who had been like a brother to me, only to find out he had been lying to my face all this time? I stopped in front of his building, staring up at the familiar windows. My mind screamed at me to turn around, to walk away, to forget everything. But I couldn't. I had to know. I had to confront the man who had shattered my life. As I pushed open the door and stepped inside, I felt the weight of everything pressing down on me. This was the moment I had been avoiding, the moment when the last pieces of my world would fall apart. I stood outside Derek's apartment for what felt like an eternity, my mind racing in 100 different directions. Every part of me wanted to turn around and leave, to pretend like none of this was real, to run away from the truth that had come crashing into my life. But there was no running anymore. There was only one thing left to do: confront him. Derek had been my best friend for years. We had shared everything: good times, bad times, our darkest secrets. I had trusted him with my life, with my family. But how could I have been so blind? How could I have missed the signs? The thought of him being involved with Veronica, my wife, the woman I loved, was almost too much to bear. I knocked on the door, my knuckles rapping against the wood like a countdown to everything falling apart. A few seconds passed before the door opened, and there he stood, Derek. For a moment, we just looked at each other, neither of us speaking. His face was unreadable, but there was a flicker of recognition in his eyes, like he knew exactly why I was here. He knew this moment was inevitable. "Richard," he said, his voice low, but there was no warmth in it. It was almost as if he was resigned to what was about to happen. "Come in." I didn't move. "I'm not here for pleasantries, Derek. I'm here for answers." His eyes darkened, and for a split second, I saw a flash of guilt, something I hadn't expected. He stepped aside, allowing me to walk into the apartment. It was small, sparsely furnished, and smelled faintly of whiskey. But I couldn't focus on any of that. All I could focus on was the man in front of me, the man who had been part of this betrayal, this lie. He closed the door behind me, and we stood there, facing each other in a heavy silence. "I know what you're here for," Derek said after a moment, his voice steady but strained. "And I know it's hard to hear, but I never wanted it to go this far. I never wanted to hurt you." I felt a cold rush of anger flood through me. "You never wanted to hurt me? You've been sleeping with my wife, Derek. You've been lying to me for years. You are hurting me. You've already destroyed everything." Derek looked away, his jaw tightening. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I knew well, one of frustration, of guilt. But I wasn't interested in his regret. I wasn't here for excuses. "How long?" I demanded. "How long has this been going on?" He swallowed hard, his gaze flicking back to me. "Since before Mia was born. Veronica and we got close. Things happened. I didn't plan for it, but one thing led to another. We tried to keep it a secret, and I thought we were doing well. I really did. But it all caught up with us. And then Mia was born, and everything changed." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. Before Mia was born, Veronica had known about this for that long. She had kept this from me for years. And for what? To protect Derek? To protect herself? "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. "Why didn't you tell me about Mia?" Derek's face grew darker, and he took a step closer, his eyes pleading. "Richard, I never wanted to be the one to tear your world apart. I never wanted to hurt you. You're my friend. You've always been my friend. I was scared. I thought if I kept my distance, if I stayed out of your way, maybe you wouldn't have to know. But I was wrong. And I'm sorry. I really am." I took a step back, my mind reeling with the weight of his words. "Sorry? Is that supposed to make this okay? You've been in my life, in my home, around my daughter, and all the while, you knew she wasn't mine. You knew and didn't say a word." Derek's face twisted in anguish. "I didn't know how to fix it, Richard. I didn't know how to tell you. And as for Mia, she's always known you as her father. You've raised her. She loves you. And you love her. I didn't want to destroy that." "I am her father," I shouted, unable to keep the frustration from spilling over. "I've been her father for 18 years. But none of that matters now, does it? Because it was all a lie. A lie you helped create." Derek fell silent, his eyes filled with a regret that almost made me feel sorry for him. But I couldn't bring myself to feel sympathy. Not now. Not after everything. "I never wanted to hurt you, Richard," he said again, his voice low, almost pleading. "But you deserve the truth. You need to know the truth. I stood there for a long moment, the weight of his words sinking in. I wanted to scream. I wanted to hit something, anything, to make the pain go away. But there was nothing I could do. Derek had already taken everything from me. Everything I had worked for, everything I had built with Veronica, everything I had believed in. Do you think this is some kind of confession, Derek? I asked, my voice eerily calm now, a quiet rage building inside me. You think you can just apologize and everything will be okay? That I can just walk away from this? From Mia? From everything? He didn't answer, just looked at me with a deep sorrow in his eyes, like he understood the depth of what had been lost. But there was no going back. The damage had been done. I need to talk to Veronica, I said, my voice cold. And I need to talk to Mia. Derek nodded, his face etched with the same pain that I felt, but I couldn't bring myself to care. He had betrayed me in the worst possible way. He had ruined everything. And now, I had to face the fallout. I turned to leave, but then stopped in my tracks, one last question hanging in the air. If Mia finds out about this, if she knows the truth, what happens then? Will she hate me too? I asked, my voice quieter now, but with an edge of desperation I hadn't expected. Derek hesitated. She'll need you more than ever. She'll need you to be strong, Richard. But she'll also need to hear the truth from you, not from anyone else. I nodded, feeling a lump form in my throat. I had no idea how I was going to face Mia, or Veronica, or even myself. But there was one thing I did know. The truth was here, and I couldn't hide from it anymore. As I walked out of Derek's apartment and into the cold night, I knew that nothing would ever be the same. The walk back home felt like an eternity, each step heavier than the last. The city was alive around me, but I felt as though I were walking through some kind of fog. The confrontation with Derek had left me shattered, more so than I had anticipated. The betrayal wasn't just the affair. It wasn't just the secret about Mia, it was everything. The life I had built, the trust one had placed in those closest to me. It all felt like it was slipping through my fingers. I couldn't understand how things had gone so wrong, how the person I thought I knew inside and out, Veronica, had kept this from me. I had always seen us as a team, but now, I wasn't sure who my partner really was. I reached the front door of our house, the familiar place that had once felt like a sanctuary, but now, it felt like a house of cards, fragile and ready to collapse. I hesitated for a moment before stepping inside. I knew that whatever I did next, I would never be the same. The weight of everything, the lies, the deceit, the overwhelming sense of betrayal, pressed down on me. But I had to face it. I had to talk to Veronica. I had to confront her. I stepped into the living room, and there she was. Veronica. She was sitting on the couch, her eyes red-rimmed, as if she had been crying. But she didn't look surprised to see me. In fact, she looked almost resigned, like she knew exactly what was coming. Richard, she said softly, her voice fragile, as though she didn't know how to start. We need to talk. I couldn't bring myself to speak. I just stood there, my body tense, my mind racing. I wanted to yell, to scream, to demand an explanation, but the words caught in my throat. I didn't know how to process everything I had just learned. The truth, the one thing I had been avoiding, was staring me in the face. I know, I said finally, my voice quieter than I wanted it to be. I know about Derek. I know about Mia. She didn't flinch, didn't look shocked, didn't even seem to be taken aback by my admission. Instead, she just stared at me with those tired, defeated eyes. Richard, I never wanted this to happen, Veronica whispered, her voice trembling. I never wanted to hurt you. You have to understand. It wasn't supposed to turn into this. Then why did you let it? I shouted, the words bursting out of me, raw and angry. Why did you lie to me, Veronica? For years you lied. You kept it all from me, all of it. And for what? To protect yourself? To protect Derek? To protect Mia? I don't even know who I am anymore. She stood up then, her face a mixture of guilt and sorrow, and took a step toward me. But I couldn't let her close. Not now. Not when everything we had built felt like a lie. You think I did this to hurt you? She asked, her voice breaking. I didn't, Richard. I never wanted you to find out. I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you the truth. And I didn't want to destroy everything we had. Her words hit me like a slap in the face, but they didn't feel like an apology. They felt like excuses. Excuses for a betrayal that was too deep to understand, let alone forgive. You should have told me, I said, my voice low, but filled with hurt. You should have told me before all of this, before everything fell apart. But you didn't. You kept me in the dark, and now it's too late. Veronica collapsed back onto the couch, her hands clutching her face in frustration. I didn't know how. It wasn't just Derek, Richard. It wasn't just the affair. Mia, she's the one I kept from you. She's the one I hid, and I can't take it back. I can't fix it. I froze. My heart seemed to stop in my chest. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Veronica looked up at me, her eyes full of regret and sadness. Mia, she's not just Derek's biological daughter. I mean, yes, she is. But she's also mine. She's ours, our daughter, Richard. I don't know how to explain this to you, but I had no idea how to tell you that what I did. It was never about hurting you. It was about protecting her. Protecting both of you. I could feel the anger start to burn inside me again. Protecting me? Protecting her? Veronica, this isn't about protection. This is about deception. And now, I'm the one left picking up the pieces of a life I thought I understood. I turned away from her, pacing the room, trying to make sense of everything. My thoughts were a jumbled mess, a storm of emotions that I couldn't quite untangle. Mia wasn't mine. Derek was her real father, and Veronica had known about it for years. But you have to understand, Richard, Veronica continued, her voice softer now, but filled with an undercurrent of desperation. I didn't want to tell you because I was afraid of how you'd react. I didn't want you to hate her. I didn't want you to look at Mia and see her as someone else's child. I stopped pacing and turned to face her, the bitterness threatening to consume me. And how did you think I was going to feel when I found out, Veronica? How did you think I would feel, knowing that the daughter I raised isn't mine? That you kept this secret from me for all these years? She stood up slowly, her eyes pleading. I didn't want you to feel that way. I never wanted to destroy you, Richard. But Mia, she's your daughter in every other way that matters. She's yours, no matter what. I felt the words hit me hard, but it wasn't the kind of comfort I was hoping for. Mia was my daughter in every way that mattered. I had raised her, loved her, been there for her through every single moment. But now, that truth was tainted by the betrayal, by the fact that she was, in the most literal sense, someone else's child. I don't know what to do with all of this, I whispered, my voice breaking for the first time since I'd walked in. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to look at her and feel the same way I did before. Veronica reached for me then, her hands trembling as she placed them on my shoulders. Richard, I never wanted you to feel this way. You've been Mia's father. You are her father, and you always will be. Please don't let this tear us apart. Don't let it tear you apart. But it already had. It was too late. The truth had already done its damage, and now, there was nothing left to hold on to. Nothing but the wreckage of what was once a family. I walked to the door, my heart heavy with the weight of everything I had just heard. I need to talk to Mia. I need to understand what's going on. But right now, I can't do this anymore. I need time to think. As I stepped out of the house, the night air hit me like a cold slap. The city was still buzzing around me, but I felt like I was drowning in my own confusion. I had no idea how to move forward. But I knew one thing for sure. Whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. The days that followed were a blur. I didn't know where to start, or how to even begin putting the pieces of my shattered life back together. Veronica and I barely spoke. She had given me space, and I had taken it, every inch of it. I needed time to process everything, to understand what had happened, and most importantly, to figure out where I stood with Mia. I stayed away for a while, spending my days in a quiet, almost robotic daze. I didn't reach out to anyone. I didn't want to talk. But as the days wore on, something shifted inside me. I began to realize that I couldn't hide from the truth forever. I couldn't keep running from the wreckage of my own life. Mia was still my daughter, and Veronica, despite everything, was still the woman I had shared my life with. One afternoon, I found myself standing outside Mia's room. I hadn't spoken to her in days, not since that first revelation. I had been avoiding her, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know how to face her. How do you look your daughter in the eye after everything that had been revealed? But today, I knew I couldn't keep avoiding it. I had to talk to her. I knocked gently on her door. Come in, her voice called softly. I opened the door slowly, my heart racing. Mia was sitting at her desk, staring out of the window. Her back was turned to me, and she didn't move when I entered. I felt a pang of guilt stab at my chest. Mia, I said quietly, unsure of how to start. Can we talk? She didn't answer right away. The silence between us felt heavy, like the air had been sucked out of the room. Finally, she turned in her chair, her eyes red but resolute. I've been waiting for you to talk to me, Dad, she said, her voice steady, though it cracked with emotion. You don't have to pretend like nothing happened. I'm not pretending, I said, my voice thick with the weight of everything I'd been feeling. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to make sense of everything. Mia studied me for a moment, her eyes searching mine for something. Maybe for an apology, maybe for some sign that I still cared. Do you hate me, Dad? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The question took my breath away. No, I said immediately, my voice firm. Mia, I don't hate you. I could never hate you. I've loved you since the moment I first held you in my arms. She let out a shaky breath, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Then why does it feel like everything's falling apart? Why does it feel like you don't want to be around me anymore? I closed the distance between us and sat down beside her, my heart aching for the girl who had always been my world. I took her hand in mine, holding it tightly as I spoke. I'm not going anywhere, Mia, I said softly. I know things are complicated right now, but nothing will ever change the fact that I'm your father. I've been your father in every way that matters. Nothing can take that away. Not Derek, not Veronica, not anyone. Mia looked at me for a long moment, her expression softening as the weight of my words settled in. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and nodded. I don't know how we're going to fix this, Dad, she said quietly, but I'm not going to push you away. I need you too. I don't want to lose you. I pulled her into a tight hug, holding her close. I could feel the warmth of her body against mine, the comfort of her presence, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt like everything might be okay again. We had a long road ahead of us, that was certain, but as long as we faced it together, there was hope. There was always hope. Later that evening, Veronica and I sat down together in the living room. The conversation was long, full of raw emotions and painful truths, but as the night went on, something shifted between us. We weren't the same as we were before. The lies had shattered something between us, but we still had love. And love, I realized, was something we could rebuild. I know I hurt you, Richard, Veronica said quietly, her voice full of regret. And I can't change the past. But I want to try to rebuild what we had. Not for the sake of the past, but for the sake of our future. For Mia. For us. I looked at her, taking a deep breath. I'm not sure what that future looks like yet, Veronica. But I'm willing to try. For Mia. For us. It wasn't going to be easy. There would be moments of doubt. Moments where the scars of the past would resurface. But the one thing I knew for sure was that we were still a family. And maybe, just maybe, we could make it through this. Together. Over the following months, things slowly began to heal. Mia and I spent more time together, rebuilding the bond we'd once had, even stronger than before. Veronica and I worked on our relationship, one step at a time, and though there were days when the past felt overwhelming, we kept moving forward. Life wasn't perfect, and it might never be the way it once was. But the one thing I knew was this: we had each other. And sometimes, that's all you really need to start again. In the end, I realized that love isn't about perfection. It's about the strength to face the truth, to heal from the wounds, and to move forward. It's about understanding that no matter what happens, family is something worth fighting for. And with that understanding, we started to rebuild. From the ashes of everything that had burned away, we began to rise again. Together.